Oh.
Ooh! This music is glorious.
Mic off. Mic on.
Ah, heyo at Hematu. Yeah, yeah. Oh, sorry about that. I have a habit of slipping back into the Planko language. It's good to finally meet you in person. I'm Bernard, although I insist you call me Bernie. The only person who calls me Bernard is my wife. And even then, only when I've tracked elephant dung into the carpets. As you know, I own several zoos, but I always like to show people the ropes here at my home. This is the first zoo I ever opened, and a source of great pride for me. And prides, thanks to a lion breeding program we ran in the 80s. But we're in the middle of a big renovation, and that's where you come in. Sadly, our old contractor had to retire after developing a fur allergy. Poor devil
Aw.
kept sneezing his dentures into the lion habitat.
Poor guy.
So, it's up to you to finish everything off. Don't worry, though. I'm not completely throwing you in at the deep end. My head keeper, Nancy Jones, will be lending a helping hand. Oh, she's a hard worker, and she'll expect you to be too. But I'm sure you'll get along like a house on fire, or even better, one that isn't on fire. Less shouting that way.
Hello there. From that rosy, fresh face of yours, I'm guessing you're Bernie's new hire. Good. Now, I hope you're ready to ditch your diploma because we're about to get really hands-on.
Oh my.
But before we begin the real work, how about we familiarize you with the zoo by learning how to fly around it and visiting some of our beautiful animals? We'll start by popping over and having a look-see at the grizzly bears in their habitat.
Where are the grizzly
Did
bears?
you know
Oh, there
that
they are.
grizzly bears, also known as Ursus arctos horribilis, can hibernate for up to 7 months a year? Oh, but then again, given the chance, I think a lot of people would do that too.
Oh, I certainly would.
Select one of the bears and you'll bring up its information panel. This is where you can find out all kinds of information about your animal. The most important thing being its overall welfare. You'll learn more about animal welfare today as we go through your objectives. But for now, let's enjoy this magnificent animal. Why don't you select the camera at the bottom of its information panel? See now, this is a fantastic way to get a close look at your animals. You can also get this view of an animal by simply double-clicking on it. Okay, when you're ready, let's pop over to the other side of the zoo and take a look at the lions. I've marked their location for you to find.
You've marked it. How did you mark it? Oh, there.
Panthera leo leo, or the West African lion to you and me. Lions are the most social of the big cats, and there can be as many as 40 lions in a pride, although prides of that size are pretty rare. As Bernie would say, those lions are awesome, which is precisely why I handle the training instead these days. Anyway, how about we get started on those objectives? Come on, let's head over to an empty habitat and see what needs doing there. As you can see, it's a lovely space for animals, but it's missing a certain something. Well, two somethings. Warthogs. So I'd like you to adopt a pair of them. To adopt animals, we need to open the animal market, which is in the animal trading section. There we are, a pair of perfectly splendid warthogs for our zoo. Just click on them and select Adopt from the side menu. Normally the animal exchange would be full of animals, but I've emptied out the market while you learn how it works. The last thing I need is you accidentally ordering a dozen elephants. When you adopt an animal, it's automatically placed in the trade centre, where they're held until you're ready to move them into their habitat, which, as it happens, you are. So how about you move them into their new home?
Can do.
When you ask for an animal to be moved into a habitat, your caretakers will go to the trade centre, collect your animal, and deliver them to your selected habitat. I've marked the trade centre's location, so let's go and watch the caretakers in action. Well, as you can see, those caretakers don't hang about. They'll move those animals to their destination as fast as possible. Of course, normally we'd have to place the animals into quarantine before moving them into a habitat, but I am assured by a person of good standing that these warthogs are in the very rudest of health. Right, let's get the warthog's habitat finished up so we can keep them nice and happy. You see, each animal in the zoo has an overall welfare statistic, basically how happy they are. And that overall welfare statistic is itself comprised of 4 different areas: nutrition, social health, habitat, and enrichment. Luckily, if you select an animal, you'll bring up their animal welfare information panel, which we saw earlier, where you can see how they're doing. That way, you'll know exactly what areas need to be addressed. Don't worry if that's a lot to remember. You can always check the Zoopedia for more information. Let's start by making sure we're taking care of the warthog's nutrition welfare. To do this, we'll need to place a food station and a drinking station. Now, each animal requires a different type of feeding station. And for the warthogs, it's a small feeding trough. So let's add one of those and a water bowl. Animals also require stimulation to keep them happy. Let's add a lovely mud bath for the warthogs to roll around in. That bath will count towards their enrichment welfare, specifically their toy enrichment welfare. Oh, nice work. You've got a knack for this, I see. Now, our contractor had to leave in a hurry, so this place is in a feral state. Unfinished thingamajigs and whatsits all over the shop. But the first thing we need to finish is the ostrich habitat. It's over near the hippos. Oh, before we actually start building our ostrich habitat, let's pause the game. Just click the pause button in the bottom right corner. Ah, that's more like it. A quick break. Sometimes it's a good idea to pause the game whilst you're doing something which requires your concentration, because it'll stop the zoo spinning out of control while you're looking the other way. Let's keep the game paused while we get this ostrich habitat built. Okay. Job number 1 here is to add a habitat gate before we complete the barrier. Every habitat needs a habitat gate. After all, how else would the keepers get in and out? Just make sure it's hooked up to the path so the keepers can reach it. Right, let's complete the perimeter barrier so we can adopt us some ostriches. I've marked out an area for you to use, so I'd like you to finish off the perimeter using the brick barrier. Good work! Remember, before you can place animals in any habitat, it has to have a full loop of connected barrier. Now, you've probably noticed that guests can't actually see into this habitat at the moment. At least not without a stepladder. But seeing as they're banned, I'd like you to select a piece of barrier and swap out the brick for a glass barrier, so the guests can see in. There we go. Adding in more windows gives guests even more opportunities to see the animals in a habitat. It's always best to make sure the guests can get a good view into a habitat from the path they're walking on, because it makes them happy, and because this would be a pretty terrible zoo if they couldn't. The last thing we need to do is to add a donation box. You see, when guests enjoy the view of an animal, they'll make a donation. Just make sure you put them in easy-to-reach places, like near a viewing point. Donation boxes are one of the main sources of income for the zoo, so make sure you remember them. Now, before we adopt our ostriches, you should click the play button. After all, if the game's paused, then so are our caretakers, which will make it a bit tricky for them to deliver the ostriches, eh? By the way, as well as pausing the game, you can speed the game up by clicking on the fast forward button. It'll run everything at 2 times and 5 times faster. It can be useful, especially if you're waiting for money to accumulate or for animals to be delivered to your habitat. Personally, I use it when I'm waiting for a brew to finish. All right,
What were you
finished
trying
the
to
habitat,
post
so it's
there?
high time we adopted those ostriches, don't you think? Let's get 4 of them in here.
Yeah, you like that? I made that just a little bit ago. Well, like yesterday.
While we wait for them to be collected by the caretakers and brought to the habitat, you should get it ready for them. Add a suitable feeding station, water station, and an appropriate food enrichment item. It's often best to place things like enrichments and feeding stations near to the habitat
No buying?
perimeter,
What do you mean?
so guests can get a really good view of the animals.
Oh, good to see the ostriches have somewhere they can really stretch their legs. Did you
Cheating?
know
I'm
they
not
can
cheating.
actually
I'm playing the
run
career
at
mode.
43 miles per hour? Oh, heaven forbid they ever escape. The speed camera fines alone would bankrupt us.
Well, Bernie certainly seems impressed. Did you do his speed camera joke? Every time we get an ostrich. So, now we've made the ostriches' lives a bit better, let's do the same for the keepers, shall we? To make it easier for the keepers to feed the ostriches and hippos, we should build a new keeper hut. Keeper huts are where the keepers prepare the food for animals, so they should be placed near to the habitats to make sure the keepers don't waste their time walking when they should be looking after the animals. You'll need to rotate the keeper hut to get it to connect up to the path. This keeper hut only has space for 1 keeper, But the larger keeper hut can allow multiple keepers to prepare food at the same time. Oh, but bear in mind that keeper huts and other staff facilities shouldn't be placed near to areas where there are lots of guests. Guests don't like seeing facility buildings, and it can affect their happiness. Negatively. In case that wasn't clear. Something that all facilities, shops, and a whole host of other objects need is power. And that obviously includes your newly built keeper hut. So let's place a transformer next to it, shall we? Now, the reason everything has gone blue is because you're using the power heat map. This map allows you to see what is and what isn't powered in your zoo. So, once you've placed your transformer, you can click in the bottom left to turn the heat map off. Lovely work. Now the keepers can start using the hut to prepare food, and thanks to where you've put it, they won't need to walk very far to deliver it to the ostriches and hippos. Let's get on to your next objective then. Bengal tigers. We want to adopt some, but I'm afraid there's nothing ready for them yet. Head on over to the plot of land I've marked out. It's not too far away. Righty, your next job is to build a habitat from scratch. And concrete and glass, I expect. So, go ahead and build it. Just make sure that the habitat includes that big hole we've dug. Oh, and don't forget to add a habitat gate to the barrier. Oh, and make sure the guests will be able to see the tigers. Now, Bernie takes safety very seriously at his zoos, so we should probably make sure those tigers can't jump out of their habitat, don't you think? The way we'll do it is by changing the height of the habitat's barrier. Okay then, you should start by double-clicking the habitat barrier, which will take you into barrier editing mode. Great. Now highlight the entire perimeter of the habitat. You can do that by clicking and dragging the barrier selection tool. Now you've got all of the perimeter selected, you can increase the height of it by clicking and dragging the barrier height tool upwards. You'll want to make sure it reaches a height of at least 3.7 meters. Now that the habitat is in place, don't forget to put down a donation box near to your viewing areas.
Thanks for letting me know.
We need every dollar we can get. Especially as these tigers aren't exactly eating instant noodles for lunch.
I think as a mod you should be able to change that, but I just launched, so I should be able to fix that real quick. Yeah, There we go. I think you are. Oh wait, no you're not. Hold on. There we go. Now you're mod.
Okay, that's the habitat boundary complete, the habitat gate in place, and most importantly, the tigers won't be able to jump out of it anymore. I think it's time we adopted those tigers.
12,000, Jesus. These tigers are expensive.
Whilst our trusty caretakers collect and deliver the tigers, let's take a look at preparing the habitat for their arrival. We'll start with the basics. Add a suitable feeding station for them. This time, instead of adding a water bowl, let's try something different. Some animals need a pool in their habitat so they can go for a swim, but they can also use it to drink from. All you have to do is make sure the banks of the pool have a gentle slope so they can easily get a nice, refreshing drink. There's already a pool excavated, but you still need to fill it with water. You should do that by going into Terrain and selecting the water tool. Yes, that'll do nicely. Of course, just
Yay.
like the warthogs and ostriches, these tigers will also need some enrichment. Why don't you add some suitable toy and food enrichment items into their habitat? Okay, it's really starting to take shape. Now, the tigers will need a shelter in their habitat so they can hide from the guests, or more likely, the bad weather. Although given that we're in England, you might want to think of that just as normal weather. Go on, add a shelter to their habitat. You can either build one from various suitable bits and bobs, or if you like, just pop down the blueprint that I've already built for you. Oh, poor Dabs. I'm sure it can't have escaped your attention that the tigers look a bit miffed. That's because they aren't too keen on the type of terrain in their habitat. Select
Well, I
a
didn't
tiger
put it
and bring
there.
up its information panel. Rightio, click on the Terrain tab. That way you can view the terrain information and see how they feel about the different types of terrain. That'll tell you what the tigers need more of or less of in this habitat. Okay then, open the Terrain editing tool, select Painting, and give them some more soil.
I got the premium
Yes,
edition.
that should help with the habitat part of their welfare.
Well, what the heck? Do they have too much or not enough? This is... Needs more soil. Needs less grass long. Oh. More grass short. Okay. Okay, and then more soil.
Right then, all animals need plants and trees from their own biome or continent. You know, deserts, savannas, Eurasia, Europe, that sort of thing. It looks
Yeah, it's
like
kinda
these
crazy.
tigers need a few more plants in their habitat. To get a perfect fit, use plants from the rainforest and temperate biomes that are native to Asia. Although if you have to, you can get away with using just one or the other. The tigers will also want a certain amount of their habitat to be covered by those plants. To find out which plants to use and how many, select a tiger and go to the Environment tab. Now, as you can see, some of the plants currently in the habitat aren't quite right for the tiger, like the wattle bushes. You can remove them if you want. You can find all of the plants you need in the nature section, and you can use the filters to only show the types of plants you want to see. In this case, that's plants from the rainforest or temperate biomes.
Alright. We're doing good. Let's add another tree there. No, that's not. Nope. They don't like that. Okay. Another elm tree. And a white birch? Yeah. You guys like birch trees, right? No, you don't. You don't like birch trees. Okay, that's fine. Bengal bamboo. You gotta love bamboo, right? You're Bengal tigers. Yeah, these bitches love bamboo. Alright. More plant and tree coverage. Okay. Hawthorn bush. A different type of hawthorn bush. Hey, there we go.
They say the good fences make good neighbors. I guess that's doubly true when one of the neighbors is a Bengal tiger. Still, those tigers
That
look
looks pretty
so
good.
happy that I
Yeah.
doubt they'd leave.
I like
Even
that
if you
pond.
did poke a hole in their fence. Oh, but for heaven's sake, don't test that theory.
Oh, okay, I won't. I was about to. Just fucking delete
Right,
this window
let's
here.
head over to the Indian peafowls. I've been told that we need to improve their social welfare.
Right, the pea fowls. Some foul ass pea.
Now then, just find one of the peafowls and select them to open their information panel. Then we can have a good gander at how they're doing. Although technically, I suppose gandering would just be for geese.
Oh my gosh, that joke. Oh
Expand
my.
their social welfare, and we can get a bit more detail. Now, they've clearly got plenty of space, and they're not stressed, but it looks like their social group isn't quite right. So let's find out more. Click on the social tab at the top of their information panel to see what's wrong.
Too few adults.
Right, as you can see, the peafowls need their population to be larger. To solve this little problem, you'll need to adopt 3 more female peafowls. Off you pop to the animal market then. Good work on those peafowls. I expect they'll be delivered soon. But sadly, it sounds like our snow leopard is a bit grumpy. Let's head over there and see what's wrong with her.
Why don't you head over there?
Just like
that's
people,
not a lot of
animals
snow.
can suffer from stress if things aren't quite right. You know, like when you see someone put in the milk before the tea bag. In the case of these snow leopards, they're a bit stressed by their lack of privacy. You can lower their stress levels by swapping out the normal glass barrier by their cave for one-way glass. It's not a cheap option, but I think they're worth the expense, don't you? This will give the snow leopards somewhere to go when they want to get away from the prying eyes of the guests. Of course, when an animal isn't in its natural biome, it's probably going to be too hot or too cold. Unsurprisingly for the snow leopards, it's too hot. Even with the terrible British weather, you should help cool it down by adding some coolers to their habitat. But let's start by opening up the temperature heat map and having a look-see at the temperature in the leopard's habitat. As you can see, we already have one cooler in there. Let's pop some more down and get as much of the habitat as chilly as we can. Luckily for us, this habitat already has power, but you'll need to make sure of that in the future. Just so you know, if any part of a habitat is powered, then the whole habitat will be powered. You can find heat maps for all sorts of helpful things, so do be sure to explore them and make good use of them. It'll take a little while for the temperature to adjust once you've added coolers or heaters, but now we've got the coolers in, we can address the leopard's terrain welfare. You see, what the leopards really want in here is snow and rock, so let's make that happen.
So they want more rocks, huh? Alright, I'll give you some rock. Some rough rock. You know what? We'll give you some smooth rock too. Spice things up with variety and whatnot. There you go. Is that not enough? Increase terrain welfare to 100%. Well, good gosh. I guess that's not enough for it. What do you want me to do? Oh, snow, right.
Now then, all of
Okay.
that should give you a pretty good understanding of how to make animals happy. So I'd like you to go and check on all the other animals in the zoo and fix up any issues with their habitats. That'll increase the average welfare of the animals across the whole zoo. And that average welfare is a very important
Just
statistic.
Poop in front of
Now,
a window?
to quickly see how all your animals are doing in the zoo, you should go into zoo management and then into the animals section. As you can see, this list shows you the animal's overall welfare. So if something's amiss,
Mic
then you
off.
can quickly pop over to them using the locate button. Right, I'm off for a cuppa while you make sure all the animals are well looked after.
Mic on.
You need more space? How do I resolve that? How do I fix that? I don't know how to fix that. Oof, they don't have any enrichment, okay. That should be an easy fix. We want plain zebra. Give you a small barrel feeder. And put it right there. We'll give you a rubbing pillar. And you know what? You guys get a grazer too right there. And a grab ball. A couple grab balls. Is that it? Oh no, you also don't like the plants. Alright, well, easy enough fix. Yeah. Terrain is inappropriate. So you need less soil, more long grass, and more short grass. soil.
Not bad. Not bad at all. I think
Well,
it's
thank you.
fair to say that you've passed the first part of your training with flying colours. There's still
Good.
lots more to learn, but we'll have to head to another one of Bernie's zoos for
Okay.
that.
Mic
If
off.
you want to grab your...
Welcome to Madagascar. It's quite the change of scenery from dreary old England, huh? Apart from the weather, I suppose. They don't call these places rainforests for nothing. The zoo you'll be working in is an ape sanctuary, where we're doing vitally important conservation work. Not just for apes, but for all kinds of species. But apes, well, apes are some of the closest relatives to humans there are. And yet, the way the world treats them is like, well, very much like some of us treat our actual relatives. Anyway, that's why I'm determined that our operation here does some good. If we
Mic
can all
on.
leave some part of the world
Yeah,
in a
that
better
won't work
state than we
with,
found it, we'll have lived lives
no other
worth
viewers.
living. And speaking of states, I have a horrible feeling I left the house in the right one. When I get back, I expect my life won't be worth living at all.
What do you think of Madagascar then? Bit warm for my taste, to be honest. Anyway, this is Bernie's primate sanctuary. It's not just primates though. We've got all sorts of animals. So why don't we go and have a look at some of them, eh? We'll start by taking a look at the red-ruffed lemurs. They're the ones that look like they should be in a Shakespeare play. Come on, let's head over to them. Red-ruffed lemurs are found in the rainforests of Masoala. That's in northeast Madagascar. They can actually live anywhere from 15 up to 25 years. Fancy that, eh? Okay, when you're ready, let's go find our Bornean orangutans.
Aw, look at that little guy. Alright.
The Bornean orangutan is such a marvellous creature. They're always a big favourite at any zoo they feature in, and they're also the biggest tree-dwelling animal on the planet. Assuming you don't count any lions that got stuck up one. Oh, why don't you take a better look at them? Open up their information panel and go into the animal camera.
I already
Aren't they
did.
just incredible?
pretty incredible. Yep, cool.
When you're ready, let's go and have a look-see at some of our beautiful bonobos. They're quite the characters. Oh dear! It looks like we've arrived just in time. One of the habitat's barriers has collapsed.
Uh-oh.
And wouldn't you know it, one of the bonobos has made a run for it. We'll need to catch them. But before we do, we should box up the other bonobos to stop them escaping too.
Uh-huh.
Select the habitat boundary to bring up the habitat information panel. Good. Now open the Animals tab. And click on Box All Animals to box up the remaining bonobos.
Okay.
Now, we'll need a vet to recapture
one
that
just fell
escaped
out of a tree.
bonobo.
That's
But
not
it seems our
nice.
last one left to do some research in the wild. Not an ideal situation. So, we'll need to hire a replacement, Sharpish. Go into the zoo section and then into the staff management area. You can find all of your staff in here, but there's no time to go looking at their particulars at the moment. Hire a vet. Now, click on one of the paths to place the vet in your zoo. Great. Now let's deal with our escapee before they can cause too much havoc. Use the animal alerts to jump to the escaped bonobo. And then click on the Call Vet button to call the vet over to capture it. Okay, that's a relief. So while the vet deals with our bonobo friend, let's go fix up their habitat so they can't escape again. Head back over there.
But I wanted to see him getting captured. Alright, fine. Where was the habitat? Right here, okay.
As you can see, the barrier's collapsed. Someone's taken their eye off the ball, obviously. Let's get this one replaced. Select the barrier and then we'll edit it. Delete the broken section of barrier and replace it with a brand spanking new one.
Uh-huh, there we go.
Good. Now that we've done that, we need to make sure to add climb-proof barriers to the top. That way the bonobos won't be able to climb out. Just make sure you've got the correct piece of barrier selected when you do that. Nicely done. And I think it's high time we unbox those bonobos, wouldn't you say? The poor mites will get sad if we leave them in there for too long. Select the habitat barrier to bring up the habitat information panel again. And then open the Animals tab.
Yay.
So, it turns
Happy
out
little
that as well as the
bonobos.
old vet leaving, the zoo's mechanics did too. We'll need to hire a couple of new ones so we can help stop any more breakouts. You see, mechanics do all sorts of helpful things around the zoo, but one of their most important jobs is taking care of the habitat barriers. Without mechanics around to repair them, the barriers will crack, crumble and fall down. And before you know it, we'll be overrun with escaped animals. Go into the zoo section and then into the staff management area again. Hire a mechanic and then click on a path to place them in the zoo. And then click on the path again to hire a second mechanic. As you can see, you don't have to go back into staff management if you're hiring lots of the same type of staff member.
Not made of money here, jeez.
Gosh, we have been busy, haven't we? Good work there. I'm off for a cuppa. Oh, I think Bernie wants a word with you.
Bernie always does. Go on then, Bernie.
I hear you had a bit of an issue with an escaped bonobo. The main thing is that you dealt with it swiftly. And more importantly, without the animals stealing someone's clothes, putting them on, and then walking out of the front gate.
Now that would have been entertaining, though.
You see, another key responsibility for our vets is animal research. Researching animals allows vets to unlock new enrichment items, additional information for our education resources, enhanced breeding programs, and improvements to food quality. The animals' food, not the vets. It'll take more than a research grant to improve the staff canteen. Anyway, as you can see, research is a key part of running your zoo. In order for a vet to undertake research, they require a research centre. And once again, that's something that this zoo is missing. So let's build one. I've marked out an area for you to put it.
Right here, where there's already
Now,
a building?
You've probably noticed that there's already a building where I want you to build the research centre. Don't worry. You see, the building that's currently there is actually a hollow shell, so we're able to place our new building inside of it. If you select the research centre for placement and then hover over the shell, you'll see that it asks if you want to add the research centre to the existing building. Okay, click to add it to the building. Oh, but that won't place it in just yet, though. First, we'll need to rotate our research centre so it automatically connects to the path when we place it.
What? Like that?
Right.
Okay.
Splendid work. Now that we have a brand spanking new research centre, we can give our vets something to do in there.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way,
Lazy
it's
vets.
worth noting that the vets will only do research when they're not required to do any other jobs. That said, you can change what jobs a vet does via their information panel. But let's not worry about that just now.
Yeah.
So, let's get our vet researching ring-tailed lemurs.
Okay.
Go into the zoo section and select Vet Research.
That research.
Here, you can see a list of all the animals present in your zoo, and also all the potential diseases that can occur.
Ooh, that wouldn't
Now,
be good.
drag and drop your vet onto the ring-tailed lemur to start their research.
Ring-tailed lemur. Okay.
Actually, thinking about it,
You
I'm
Google
not
that
sure
shit,
we've got
vet.
any education boards or speakers by the lemur's habitat.
Oh, well,
Let's
that's
head
not
over
good.
there and add some, so our guests can learn all about the furry little delights.
Oh, and the game froze. Lovely. Oh, what a great start. What a great start to this game. Freezing within the first hour. Oh, jeez. Alright, well. It's a good time to grab some sodas, I think. I'll return in a moment.
Mic off. Mic on.
Well, I just... Like, how do I... I don't have a face cam. I'm gonna refund that back to you. There's nothing I can do for that. Gotta get a face cam of some sort before I do these. Alright, let's go. Let's do this. Yeah, no kidding. Alright. And there we go. Not very committed, what do you mean? What was that supposed to mean? Right, but I don't have a face cam on, so... It's just not working right now because I don't have a face cam. Alright, so I'm gonna turn off for now. No requests for now. Oh, I believe it. Yeah, 24/7 face mask. If I'm sleeping by myself in my bedroom with no one else here, face mask. I sometimes have sausage fingers.
Mic off. Mic on.
It's super catchy.
Actually, thinking about it, I'm not sure we've got any education boards or speakers by the lemur's habitat. Let's head over there and add some, so our guests can learn all about the furry little delights.
Barbecue playlist. I don't know about that. Oh my gosh, it froze again. Are you serious? So this mission is just borked. I can't play it. Jesus, why? Oh, it unfroze. Okay, good. Oh, and it froze again. What the hell is up with this? Oh, all my RAM is being used. Nice. No other game uses all of my RAM. This is insane. Yeah, but I can play Cities Skylines no problem. I have 8 gigs, but it's not any problem for any other game. Even Planet
First
Coaster.
off, let's pop down 2
Yeah, it works
education
fine.
boards.
I don't need
Place them
more.
on the habitat barriers at a height that guests can see, or, if you like, pop them down on a stand.
No, I don't. Every other game runs fine at 8. Cyberpunk runs fine with 8. This game is the first one I've run into that is having issues with 8 gigs of RAM. I don't know. Like I said, this is the first game that's actually given me issues. It's just like this area too. Like I wasn't having any issues before this. And like, see, my computer's running fine. It's just the game. Like my cursor has no issues. This is weird. You know what? We're just gonna put that on the floor since it's so
Okay,
demanding.
Now that they've been put into position, we have to tell them what animal to display information about.
Uh-huh.
Select one of the education boards to bring up its information panel.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And from the drop-down list, select ring-tailed lemur.
Alright,
Although
will
I'm
do.
sure that last part was obvious.
I don't think it was, but I'm using it as a floor piece because it let me do it. Remove the floor thing. I don't want to remove the floor thing. It wasn't running fine. It's been freezing this entire time. It's been freezing and unfreezing this entire time. What's weird is like the audio keeps going. You know what? I'm gonna close out of my browser. We'll close out of Spotify.
When you link an education board or a speaker to an animal, you need
Close
to
out
make
a
sure
Steam
that said
chat.
animal is close by. If it isn't, the guests will get confused and
CPU's
won't learn
running
as
fine.
much.
No issues with the CPU. Like my computer's running super fast right now. It's not. Okay. Well, my CPU's at 50%. So I don't think it's that. And in fact, right now my RAM's at 75%. So I was able to get it down a bit, but game's still freezing, so I don't know what to say. Just a poorly optimized game right here. Neat. Again, every other game that I've played has been fine with 8. Except for this one.
Okay, now that we've done the education boards, let's pop down a pair of speakers. Speakers play audio to the guests, so they can learn while they look at the animals, instead of having to go through the laborious process of reading. Oh, One thing to bear in mind is that it's important not to put the speakers too close together. If you do, the guests won't be able to understand what's being said.
I need another speaker. Oh, jeez. Alright, but my point is, like, you have games like Planet Coaster made by the same people that have similar AI with all the guests and ride fatigue and stuff like that. You have all these other simulation games that I've played. What's JWE? Give me the fucking speaker. Okay. CPU's at 42. Memory's at 76. Should be fine at this point. My god, I can't even select this speaker? What the fuck? Okay, I guess I'll place another speaker then. Somewhere where I'll actually be able to click on it since... Right, well, I'm gonna quit this game and get a refund before the time runs out. Because, yeah, that was fucking awful. I'm sitting here at 70% memory, 40% CPU, and the game is freezing. That was awful. Like, it wasn't even at 100% on my resources and it's freezing up like that. Okay. Refund requested. Now let's see what we're playing instead, because yeah, that was cancerous. Like, I would say it's my computer if my resources were still over, because they were at 100%, but then I closed out of some stuff. It dropped down to 40 and 70, and it was still freezing. That doesn't make any sense. At that point, it's not my computer. I don't think so. 75% and it's freezing? That doesn't make any sense. I don't think it makes sense. Especially when no other game has that issue that I've played. Probably, yeah. Uh-huh. But again, no other game has that issue. No, I've never needed to. Like I've said, every other game works fine. I don't get why that's irrelevant. It's a game, and it's the only one that's freezing like that. How is that irrelevant? I think that's fairly relevant. Okay, so that sounds like poor game design.